to sin. And in the long run, he did. He gave the enemy a plan. And that plan was using the women, the unrighteous women of this other camp, the idolatrous women, brought them over into the camp, and that subdued the men, and they were all into sin and idolatry. Okay. Jeroboam was another example, and his lust to make sure that his kingdom was assured. Okay. We wanted to make sure that his kingdom was set up. Idolatry. That's what he introduced the people to. Again, over and over, they were introduced to idolatry. So yes, you will always be tempted. That's the enemy's job, is to tempt you. Okay, but you have a choice. I want to read really briefly 1 Kings chapter 12, 26 through 28. And I want you to study this out for yourself so that you can see this whole subtlety of sin and how people in authority, or people who people consider authority, use these things to cause people to slip. It says here in 1 Kings chapter 12, verses 26 through 28, and Jeroboam said in his heart. See, that's where it started. It started in his heart. Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of Yahweh at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord, even unto Rehoboam, the king of Judah. So there was a battle going on between Jeroboam and Rehoboam. Okay. And Jeroboam's whole point was, let me make sure that my junk is locked tight. If I let them go all the way to Jerusalem to worship, if they go up there to the house of Yahweh to worship, then they're going to be they're going to see Rehoboam, and they might be persuaded to stay there and hang out. Okay. But it says here, whereupon the king took counsel. In other words, he talked to some people. People that do dirt, they always got people around them giving them bad counsel, giving them evil, wicked counsel. You know what I'm saying? And made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy Elohim, O Israel. These are your gods, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. Whew, that's rough, ain't it? But I'm telling you, we see this in churches today. We see this in pulpits across America, putting yourself in the position of the Father. Yeah, I'm talking to preachers. I'm talking to the went ones. I'm not talking about the sent ones right now. I'm talking about those who have been ordained by men, not by the Father. Those whom the Father has not instituted. Those who the Father has not ordained and put in position. You've chosen yourself, and because you went to cemetery, and I did say cemetery, you translate that to seminary in your language. Because you went to cemetery, or because someone promoted you and gave you a title, now you're in a pulpit creating all these damnable heresies and dragging folk to hell, just like the Pharisees were doing and the Sadducees were doing with their leaven-laden doctrines, their hypocritical doctrines. Okay. So he said to these people, behold your gods. And that's what these preachers do. Look at me. We're going to celebrate me. We're going to have a pastor's day. You don't deserve no day. The only person that deserves a day is the Father, and that's every day. Okay, so let's stop getting that twisted. All these special days and all that foolishness, that's some garbage. Okay, that's some idolatrous garbage to take your mind and to take your heart off of where it should be, which is on the Father. Anything that exalts itself above him is not of him. Okay, right, Marla. Don't leave the first lady out. They are royalty in their own minds. They are self-proclaimed royalty. Not only are they not royalty, but they are false authority. Okay. Anything that the Father has not established is false authority. And we're going to get there shortly. No, I need to talk about this now. Let me talk about this. That whole thing about clergy laity, that's garbage. If you look in the scriptures, and I share this on many occasions, I share it over and over again. In Matthew, he discussed with them, the 2 brothers that were talking about, well, who's going to be the greatest in your kingdom? Who's going to sit on your right hand? And Yahushua flat out told them, he said, I'm going to tell you something. We don't roll like that. We don't roll like that. The guy that's going to be the greatest in this kingdom, he's going to be the minister, and the guy that's going to be the minister, he's going to be the servant to all. Not only that, the scripture also talks about the Gentiles exercise authority over their people. They call them their benefactors. Okay. But that shall not be so in the kingdom. See, there's a certain a setup in the world system. There's a hierarchy in the world system. You have your kings. You have the people under them. You have this setup and this system that rolls that way in the world. But that is not to be so in the kingdom of Yahweh. Anything that looks like that and behaves like that is not of the Father. That's what the scripture says. You can argue with me. You don't have to agree with it. It's what the scripture says. So you're not pricking against me. You're not rejecting me. You're rejecting the Father. And that's what you'll have to deal with. Okay. Let's move on here. This is the same mentality of wolf pastors of the Old Testament. And we still have that same mentality today, who rather than teaching the people the difference between the holy and the profane, allow it to be a mixture. Okay? And the people fail to know the difference. Rituals, traditions of men, religion, all that's more important than teaching you how to be free from sin. Because if I teach you how to be free from sin, guess what? I can't merchandise you no more. You're not my merchandise anymore. At the point I teach you the truth and teach you how to be free, now I can't control you. That's what religion is about. That's why church, as it is so called and as it was so man-made, yeah, I know it's in the Bible. The word church is in the Bible, but that's a translation of the word ecclesia, which means the called out ones. Those who are called out are the ones who have accepted the Father through the Son, those who have accepted salvation. That is the body of the Messiah. So now, may I ask you, how do you go to the body of the Messiah? You know how people say we went to church or we had church. How do you have the body of the Messiah? I don't get that. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. He made comments like this. The Father made comments like this in the Old Testament. You've caused my people to sin. Now, does that mean that someone else's fault because you sinned? Because the people sinned? No, it just means that they have become accomplices. They have put this in their way. They put a stumbling block in the way. Well, because the people were asleep and their eyes were closed, they tripped over it. Okay. But still, the stumbling block was placed there. Okay. Again, he said to Jeroboam and of the pastors. Well, this is what he said to Jeroboam. You've caused my people to sin. Then he says of pastors, even in the Old Testament, you've caused my people to stumble in their ways. These are some of the things that the Father spoke to these people. He said of the prophets, you've caused my people to err. Yeah, you saying peace, peace when there is no peace. You giving these lying prophecies that come out of your imagination. The stuff that I didn't say, stuff that I didn't even have these discussions with you. But you're saying that these are things that I said. Okay. Under the new covenant, Yahweh's laws are written on the table of our hearts. All right. They're no longer outside on tables of stone. They're on the inside. So we know when we jack up. There's no question that we know. Let me tell you something. This is the bottom line. When you are more in love with the Father, let me say it like this. When your love of the Father exceeds the love of self, you will accept and walk in the freedom that's been provided for you. That's how that works. Okay. You'll realize that what he did for you, and I'm talking about the Father, what the Father did for you in sending his only Son, okay, to become the complete and final sacrifice is something you in no way could have done. No way could you have satisfied the debt for your life because you were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. He chose a vessel that was free from blemish and he sacrificed that. That was the ultimate sacrifice. Okay. You remember in the Old Testament, they did sacrifices. Why? To atone for sin. Now here we have Yahushua show up on the scene and his job is to die to atone for the sin of the world. But guess what? You still got to accept it. You still have to accept this gift that was given. Okay. Religion and confusion are synonymous. The more I live, the more I realize this. Religion and confusion are synonymous. I put up the other day a posting about church fights. Well, you know, I don't know if everybody watched every particular part, but it was hilarious to me because I'm sitting there saying to myself, this is so typical. This junk has been going on for so long. From the Bible days till now, people are still fighting. Well, that's what the church, that's what religion is about. It's about fighting for position. It's about vying for position from the pulpit to the back door on the usher board. Everybody vying for position. Okay. But it's about them fighting. Okay. There is no wholeness. There is no togetherness in man-made institution. No way.